Welcome back, everybody. I've got 4 more episodes to get done by next week, I think Friday, something like that. That will be the equivalent of 1 video for each week of 2020. So, 4 videos. Should be able to do that. This week, I went through my craft box and I found the skulls, which I'd picked up after Halloween at Michael's. And it was like 6 for a couple of bucks. I couldn't pass it up. So now that I've got a skull, I got to figure out what I'm going to make. And I also had this big chunk of foam that one of my friends who was doing some work on his house had left over. And he brought it over and dropped it off because he knows how to use it in crafting. So I decided I was going to do an arch. I used a Tupperware bowl to do the initial semicircle. And the idea is I'll do this arch, I'll cut it out, and at the top of the arch I'll put this skull inside of it. It'd be like a stone arch with a skull that's been setting in the forest for a really long time. And the characters will come up on it and it'll be like a little creepy and a little ancient, and you're not really sure why it's there, and it provides some mystery. And it'd be a nice little set piece and give me a little bit of opportunity to see what I can create in a very short period of time. So I'm just going to jump in here and get at it. After I cut out the semicircle chunk, I needed to cut out the interior, and that's where the arch where people will walk through it. The little miniatures will go through it. So I just used my knife here and cut it out in sections, and then cleaned it up once I got it down close to the foam line where I wanted to carve it out there. You can see I'm just cutting it out a little bit, and then I just clean it up. I do everything with this particular project with my knife. I could have done it much quicker with a Proxxon, but studio's all torn up. Proxxon's in a box somewhere, either in storage or another room. So here I am. And I like using my knife. It's a lot of fun. I like that tactile sensation I get when I go in and do all of this stuff by hand. So here I'm just cutting out a section where the skull is going to set. Wasn't sure whether I was going to keep the jaw detached or together. At the end, I decided to keep it together. Once I got that piece carved out, I went ahead and put lines in all the way around the piece. That's going to represent the individual stone blocks that were used to build it. And I used the knife to put the initial cut in for the mortar lines around the blocks, and then I use a pin to go back around and give it a little bit more definition. Yeah, trim it up a little bit more. put the skull on the top. Now here was my first mistake. So I'm moving so fast here that I just go ahead and glue the head on, and really what I should have done is Mod Podge the whole thing first. Hey, look, I got the leg of the tripod out of the shot, finally. So as I'm Mod Podging this, I realize that I probably should have left the skull off. Why don't we just take that thing off? Yeah, there we go. And then I just go ahead and Mod Podge the whole thing, as I usually do. There we go. I just left that glue in there. There we go. The other thing I forgot to do was add texture before I Mod Podged it, so I added texture after I Mod Podged it. It turned out okay. Probably would have been better if I did it before, but After the texture's been added, I go and layer my first coat of paint, which is going to be my dark gray. Yeah, it's pretty good. Get down in there, that little thing. Okay. Now I'm going to go back through and add my first dry brushing, which is a tan. Oh, got a little heavy there. But again, I'm moving really fast on this piece, so we'll see how it turns out. There we go. A little heavy dry brushing going on there. Yeah, I could have done better on that. Could have done better on a lot of stuff here, but you know, it's just for the tabletop. Really quick piece. The second dry brushing, I go over a little heavier, but with a white. And that really makes things pop out. Almost looks like a piece of gravel. Brought to you by your local limestone company. Now that looks a little too fresh and new, so we're going to have to do something about that, which is of course a black wash. But before I do that, I go ahead and glue my skull into place. You can see the paint running there. That's because I'm moving so fast I didn't let the paint dry all the way through before I got started on the black wash. But you know, again, it's going to be fine. It's going to look good enough at the end of the day. Alright, so now we need a base. We're not done yet. We've got a lot of little accents and stuff we're going to add to this thing. And I just drew out a base that was all over the place, really. It just needed to be large enough to hold the arch and provide enough space to lay down the terrain that's going to go around the base. And I had a lot of this green grass flocking laying around, so that's what I used, just because it's what was there. So I guess it's a meadow or something that they're going to find this. Maybe I'll throw a couple of trees around. And then I want it to look old, so, you know, you got the black wash on there. But I wanted a little bit of growth or something around it as well. So I'm going to clean this up a little bit before I get started. By the way, if you use your hand to brush that stuff back into the container, makes your hand green. Just as a side note. So I had this moss left over from a couple other projects I had been doing. And I decided to throw a bit of moss all over the place. And I just went crazy here with it. Because why not? It'll look fine. A little bit of dead moss here and there too. Maybe it's sticking out in the sun a little bit too long. But you'd think the dead moss would be at the top rather than along the sides there. Maybe there are trees that are giving shade enough for the other ones. Anyway, after I got all of the moss and stuff in place, I'm pretty much done at this point. I guess I decided I was going to use up a little bit more, put it around the back side there. A little piece where the flocking didn't cover, so I covered it up with some of the stuff that was in the moss bag. And here's a little trick. So the white glue that you put on the top for the flocking, it causes that chipboard to bend upwards. As it dries, it tightens. To correct that, I went ahead and Mod Podged the bottom, and that sort of pulled it back down. And that's pretty much it for our skull arc in the middle of the forest. And there you go. Place for our little monsters to come through, and a little skull archway that, you know, isn't that bad for a really quick project. If you liked it, give it a thumbs up. If you didn't, give it a thumbs down. Comments down below as always. Have fun and keep crafting, and we'll see you again probably in the next couple of days because I got 3 more of these things to do. Anyway, take care.